Yeah, Lou. I'm at Lou's house while he operates his business from the basement.
Nice, Lou. Way
Yeah.
to go. Starting his own business, sports business.
Oh, yeah.
What's the name of it again? Let's give it a shout out to our thousand.
It's called to our 1,000 viewers, if that. It's called Feather and Hide here. So if you see me wearing feathers with little golf tees, that's exactly the symbol. So if you haven't checked it out, go check out featherandhidegolf.com.
Dude, what is with the Williamses and these secret society type names like Feather and Hide? Was he inspired by that?
A little bit. It must have been. It has something to do with the original golf ball. So, like, I guess back when the original golf ball was made in Scotland or the Highlands, it was a compilation of just like leather pieces that were boiled together with raw hide so that it just was really compact. And that's what they ended up hitting back in the day. So he wanted to go back to the origin, back to the roots, stick to the 2-word with ampersand in between. And I don't know if he got that from us, but
whoa, I did not know that. That's actually fascinating.
Yeah. Golf history here. We're a golf show now.
Welcome back to the Golf History Podcast, where Scott gives the history of golf balls. Dude, actually, Scotland, the history of golf in Scotland. I went to St. Andrews in Scotland and saw that course. It's incredible.
Oh, wow. I feel like that one's hard to call even a course, as we Americans know courses to be, right? I feel like that's just like a stretch of rolling hills and fescue.
It's better than McKay Creek in Hillsborough, right? Right, Mike?
Yeah, there's nothing funnier than watching Nick golf. He collapses both of his knees on his swing and really makes it look hard. For a former professional athlete, your golf swing is that of someone so uncoordinated. It's difficult to watch.
You know, I have 2 damaged MCLs, and so my knees collapse inwards all the time.
I think we've touched on this, but Nick's MCLs, okay, he's been milking the MCL injury for 7 years. I could fix his MCL with 3 rehab exercises in a span of 2 weeks and it'd be better than it ever was. But he says, and I quote, he wears the brace and he keeps the injury because he likes the excuse.
I like the victimhood mentality and the victimhood card that I can play as a guy with 2 torn knees. Okay, Mike? So you try to take that away from me?
I had a real torn knee. My torn knee was so bad that I had to sign a waiver for them to use the video to teach med school students. And I never wore a brace. Never wore a brace.
Whoa!
They called it the perfect storm.
Whoa! Well, no brace, but a collared shirt for Mikey today. Mike, what?
I had a lot of people said I got a lot of positive feedback from last episode of the smart things that I said, so I thought I would dress the part now
appropriately. Yeah, this is now your costume.
Yeah. So goodbye, jokes and humor.
Okay. Make it serious. Get a pair of glasses here, Mike, and then we'll get you in. You're going to look like you went to Yale with Scott. Look, I already got a Yale joke 3 minutes in. Sorry, Scott.
No, it's okay. It's okay.
Speaking of nerds and kind of dorky guys, God, what a transition.
Nick and his trannies.
One of the nerdiest quarterbacks in the NFL, Kirk Cousins, has been benched. The last 5 games, he's thrown 1 touchdown and had 9 interceptions, and the Falcons have been 1-4. He has been benched after Monday Night Football, after they played the Raiders, and we are assuming Michael Penix Jr. is going to be stepping in, taking the starting spot for the Falcons. Mm-hmm. Scott, how do you feel about this as both a nerd and a quarterback?
Ultimately, I don't think this is for the rest of the season play. I think this is honestly just a kick in the butt to Kirk. And I think Kirk is going to take it as he does. Like, he's very much okay with living in the world of respecting authority, especially coaches and the decisions they make. And I think he's going to take it as a learning experience, even for as veteran of a guy as he is. So I think this is just like a 1 or 2 game play. Penix, it's asking a lot of him to come in and just ball out right away, even though he is, by all accounts, incredibly good and incredibly savvy. And he's one of those older quarterbacks that's come through the draft last year. So, yeah. But ultimately, my theory is it's just like, hey, get right, Kirk. Something's going on. You kind of got the yips. Let's get that figured out, and then we'll get you back in before playoffs. That's my thing.
Interesting that's your take on it. So you think it's kind of like a Bryce Young situation with the Panthers, where they benched him for a few games for Dalton, And then they put him back in as the starter like a few games after that. And actually, Bryce Young has been way better since the benching. So you think that's what's going on here in Atlanta? Not that they're like, all right, it's time to move off Kirk.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, especially because he signed a 4-year, I think $180 million contract, 90 of that being guaranteed. Like, it's too big of an investment for them to just abandon him after a 5-6 game slide. Like, that doesn't really make sense from an investment standpoint and also a team standpoint. So that's why I think it's just a swift kick to the butt.
True.
And also, the NFL has no concept of sunk cost. If they pay a guy to make him play, no matter how bad he's playing or what we paid him, he's got to play. Every other business understands sunk cost. Move on.
Nerd takes here. By the way, Mike, real quick, can you connect to your microphone? You're coming through the AirPods.
Is it coming through here?
There you
go. Wonderful.
Okay, I'll just hold it.
Yeah, hold it. Okay, there we go. He's so smart, but he can't talk into his microphone. Okay, good. Where were we? Oh yeah, I was going to say this. Scott and Mikey, do you not think that? So you think that this is just kind of kicking the butt for Kirk? Like, hey, get right. I think that works for a young quarterback like Bryce Young. No pun intended. But Kirk's been in the league for like 12 years. This dude is a veteran, one of the longest-standing veteran quarterbacks in the NFL right now. Do you really think that this same type of treatment would work on a vet? To kind of this feels like a young guy move.
Yeah, well, the reason I think this is just a kick to his butt is because that's the type of guy he is. We all saw it in the quarterback series, Omaha Productions quarterback series. Great series, by the way. If you haven't watched it, go watch it. But we got to look into how Kirk approaches the game itself and how he prepares mentally, physically, so on and so forth. And he's got that old school mentality. And similar to what I was bringing up, I think it was last episode of the week, the episode before, about Tom Brady talking about Daniel Jones just dipping out on his team when they honestly just needed him to do what was necessary for them to succeed. And I think Kirk is a vastly different individual than any of the new age quarterbacks or younger quarterbacks. He's willing to take a step back so that his team can succeed and that he can get right. And then show and prove within practice and development and so on and so forth that he's ready to go and ready to step back on the field. So like, I don't think he's going to take it as a personal slight, even though personally it's probably burning him up inside, but that's going to be the driving element to him getting back on the field and turning the ship around.
Yeah, dude, I don't know. I feel like that I don't know. I like, if I'm a veteran like that, I would not.
You're going to step off the field like the linebacker from the 49ers?
I'm going to pull 49ers linebacker quit early age. Bench me? I don't know, dude. I don't know. I think that's, I mean, I understand what you're saying, but
he's got the yips right now, man. It's
one of those things. No, I quit. It's the guy from The Office. You can't fire me. I quit.
I mean, Scott, as a quarterback, like quarterback is the most mental position in football. How would you feel like confidence-wise if your team decides to bench you with the goal of this is going to make you better right now?
Yeah, no, I'm probably the last person to be able to speak to this, even though I have quarterback experience, because mentally I wasn't strong enough to actually stay in the position come college. But in high school, there were elements of this happening to me, and where it was just like there was a threat of being benched because I fumbled a ball or something asinine like that. But it's like it's one of those situations where it's like you either take it, swallow it, and improve upon it and get better and have that be a motivating factor, or you let it make you crumble interiorly. So like, that's why I always say, I just have confidence that Kirk, because he's proven this before, he's been in these slumps before. He's heard the negativity around his name and his primetime stuff and all that kind of stuff. Like, he's been able to turn the ship around in a way that I don't think a lot of people expected him to be able to do. So that's why I say I'm not counting him out from being able to do this. But again, personally, I think he's absolutely pissed.
That's a good point, and you're right, because we have been bashing Kirk Cousins for not being able to step up in the big games. But actually, since 2020, and I'm throwing up a meme here, Kirk Cousins is now 5-1 on Monday Night Football since 2020. So Kirko chains like he does. You're right. He used to be quite shitty in prime time in like standalone games, and since then he has turned it around. What do you think of this? Let me throw it up here. This take. Somebody threw on X. Cousins just got benched. Brady retired. Peyton retired. Eli retired. Breeze retired. Rivers retired. Big Ben retired. Matty Ice retired. Favre, Palmer, all the way down. Romo retired. Pocket passers will not exist by 2040. So we're seeing this trend here with all these guys that we describe as pocket passers, some of these older quarterbacks. Now the new age of quarterbacks, almost all of these guys are now very mobile and can scramble around the pocket and are not what we describe as kind of traditional pocket passers of the past. What do you think about this? Is this actually happening?
Poppycock. That's what I think of this. Like you look at Joe Burrow being one of the top quarterbacks in the league. He's a pocket passer first and foremost. Yeah, he has some athletic ability to get outside of that pocket when it collapses, when it calls for it, but that's not his first mode of operation. And then you look at even Patrick Mahomes. It's the same way. He lives in the pocket until he has to scramble to make something happen.
True.
So like, looking at some of these guys, like Big Ben, while he was absolutely a pocket passer, he had this elusive escapability that I think was second to none for a guy of his size. And he was able to use his legs to get to extend plays, right? And I think that's just going to be a new version of this. While people may not be as big as Big Ben,
Big Ben, as young as Bryce Young. This show, Mike, your turn. Make a pun.
Yeah, figure it out.
Put me on the spot. That's the thing. Just because you have the ability to run, you have the legs, and you have the ability to extend and pass outside the pocket, doesn't mean you're not a pocket passer. Just because you have that ability when you need to, people still want you to be a pocket passer. Just because you can run and do it outside doesn't mean your first inclination shouldn't be stay in the pocket.
Point. Just because like you have the athletic ability to run doesn't mean that you can't get categorized as a pocket passer.
Right.
Okay. Interesting. Big Ben is interesting because he had like a chubby guy, beer belly, elusivity sort of skills,
Yeah. And
very
I mean,
unique.
you stretch it back to the you stretch it back to the 90s. I mean, Steve Young had the legs, but he was first and foremost a pocket passer, and then he was able to run when it was called for, and he was able to do it at a top tier level, like Michael Vick. Like even Michael Vick was a pocket passer, and then he ran when he needed to. It's just like I think this is a bad way of defining a pocket passer and a running quarterback. It's like exactly as Mike is saying. It's like the NFL quarterback will always be a pocket passer first and foremost, and then you use the athletic ability when it's called upon.
Because I was going to say, even what you just said there about Michael Vick, I was going to say, well, actually, you could argue that Lamar Jackson is a pocket passer, and then he runs often on designated runs and has this scrambling ability, but he is and has gotten a lot better at sitting in the pocket, as we like our NFL quarterbacks too. And it's always like people a few years ago like to say, oh, Lamar's a running back that can throw. It's like bullshit. Now he's one of the better passers. Like throw away all of his running athletic ability. He's one of the better passers in the NFL now.
He's only gone up and up, and he's won MVPs ever since then, and so on and so forth. So it's like, and then we're talking about Caleb Williams too. It's like, dude, all he has to do is learn how to sit, relax, and win from the pocket. And that is such the right formula for NFL QBs to just learn from the basics. And then you can rely upon your athleticism.
Well, I want to talk about Caleb Williams a little bit more in a second because obviously he played on Monday Night Football. But there's a different quarterback, so maybe he's a pocket passer, maybe not. This guy's kind of an enigma. Josh Allen. Let me throw this up here. And Mikey, I know you're excited to talk about this. Josh Allen, obviously, hot celebrity gossip news. Josh Allen got engaged to Haley Steinfeld. And since getting engaged, 14 touchdowns, 1,300 yards, 0 turnovers, 0 sacks. He's been on a incredible run, absolutely dominating these last few games. Now, I wanted to bring this up.
That's over 3 games. How many games is that?
I think it's 3.
Yeah,
it's 3 games. And he had. Let me see. Hold on, I got it right here. Passer rating of 140, 117, and 122 in those games as well. And obviously, one of those games he ran for 3 touchdowns and threw for 3 touchdowns, which is historic. So my question to you guys is, what do you think about the idea of a young man who is trying to accomplish something? He's in the world of trying to better himself. Does finding a woman, finding the right potential wife, increase your chances of success? Does it make you better at your craft, to make you more great, or does it not? Scott and Mikey, I know that you guys might be taking different sides of the argument here. Scott, as a married man, father of 1
and a half,
1.5, thoughts on this? We'll start with you, Scott.
Ooh, man. I don't want to get too like sappy or anything like this, but absolutely, dude. Once you find that one person, like everything starts falling into place, and it feels as though you're able to take that next step, right? Because at least from a personal standpoint, when you're a young man, the world is your oyster, and you have so many different things that you could go and conquer and achieve and do all this kind of stuff. But once you find that one person, it seems like your focus narrows and sharpens. That's probably more the appropriate word. So things sharpen, and you know what you want to do, and you have to start figuring that out because other people depend on you, and that's a huge importance. And like, obviously, it's hard to say like, oh, okay, that's the exact reason why Josh Allen is performing as he is on the field. But I have to imagine that it's a weight off of his shoulders that he may have had prior to. So like now, once you step through that threshold, it's like the world is your oyster, but in a very, very different way.
Right. Okay. Good. Now, Michael.
Okay.
As a non-married, I believe. What is your relationship status?
My relationship status is single and desperate and looking.
What is your
ladies?
Larry David
that
said.
Is a cry.
Desperate and picky, as Larry David describes
himself.
Here's my take. This works for quarterback more so than it would work for any other position. Why? Because when you're in a long-term relationship, marriage, your testosterone drops significantly as a man. And so if you're an edge rusher or a linebacker or something like this, it's bad for you. You need that free testosterone running. You need to be crazy in the head. If you're too settled and too calm, you become a father. You become selfless. You're thinking about other people besides yourself. Okay, that works for quarterback, I think, because you're more calm. You're able to make smarter decisions. Okay, you're more objective on your decision making. But for a position like linebacker, D-line, safety, where you need the aggression, I think it is detrimental to your career.
Ooh, wow, that is a very interesting take, Mike, right there. So I think for kind of more selfless position or positions where you have to have a little bit more responsibility and kind of stability, then you're pro marriage.
Exactly.
But for example, you wouldn't want your cornerback to be married. You want him out at the club.
I want my corner, my receiver out at the club in shenanigans as much as possible.
I'm pretty sure that's what's going on with the Cowboys right now with CeeDee Lamb and Diggs, a few weeks back, and that's really going well for them, huh?
Damn. You know what? Okay, you're right. You're right.
You got me.
There's an exception.
But going against that argument,
okay.
What do you say to the age-old call it the old husband's tale of, okay, when you finally have that child, testosterone spikes because their life is reliant upon your strength and your capabilities. So like, what do you think old man strength?
The data not support that.
What are your sources?
Okay, testosterone in men plummet because it makes them more sympathetic and connect better with the child. It's an evolutionary aspect of male development. So after the child was born, male testosterone declines. They become less aggressive, or else they wouldn't care about the kid. That's part of.
But do you think
there's some studies on that?
Do you think there's an element of wisdom that comes through? So sharpness and decision making as to when to become aggressive and utilize your testosterone is actually sharper, so that you can maximize your testosterone as opposed to being crazy.
Okay. Sure, you're a little bit wiser in your decision on when to act and when to use your aggression. But when you do use it, your aggression is halved. Just because you can make a smarter decision on when to use it doesn't mean you're going to have the same amount.
I ain't as good as I once was.
But this still kind of supports both your arguments there of like, hey, you want the situation for your quarterback. And
let's put Nick in the middle here. He is the moderator of this.
Put me in the middle here. Yeah. All right. Okay, everyone. Okay. All right. Let's see. So, Mikey, let's list off here the positions. You're a coach or a GM, and you're building a roster. What do you want the relationship status to be of each of your positions? And we'll start both you guys on defense. Okay,
now Mikey, we're getting somewhere.
Okay.
No, this is a podcast.
Is a podcast. Okay. Relationship status, Mike, of your corners and your safeties.
Here's what you want. Okay, well, starting off, you want your quarterback to be engaged or married. Okay, this is the leader on all facets on the field and off of life. Okay, he is someone they look up to in decision making and in cool-headedness. Okay, but you need him to be the number one guy in terms of levelness, and so that's why he has to have the best relationship. Okay, strongest long term. Now you want your quarterback to be he's married his high school sweetheart. Okay,
Patrick Mahomes.
Exactly. See,
Kirk Cousins.
Okay?
Kirk Cousins. They met once he was in the NFL though, so different.
You want all your O linemen single and desperate, all of them. Okay, because why? Because then they spend all their time with each other. Okay, they go out, they have meals together every night, all the time. They bond so well. Okay, misery loves company. So when they're miserable and they're single, okay, they have better jokes together, better camaraderie. They bond. Okay. They're more of an adhesive unit. So you want all your linemen single. Receivers and running backs out every weekend, partying, shenanigans. Okay, that's what you want.
Do you want? Would you want it to go as far as like baby mama drama for receivers and running backs?
Okay.
Or does that become too much of a distraction?
You want, as we had at Oregon State, you want your star receiver, 1 or 2 baby mama dramas. Okay. But then the other receivers, no baby mamas. Okay. So they see how much drama the star receiver has to deal with and how it distracts him. And they don't want to go that way. And then they see the quarterback, he's stable. And so they start leaning towards the quarterback's lifestyle. Okay, so they see both ends of the spectrum.
Okay, there we go. Okay. So there's Mikey's offense right there, relationship status.
Then tight end, he's been dating one girl for 6 months.
Are you talking about Luke Musgrave?
No, Luke Musgrave has a high school sweetheart quarterback.
Oh, okay, there we go, Luke. That's why he's so stable and stay on track during an interview, right? All right.
Scott, watch that.
Scott. Oh, there we go. Mike, your mic is now working better, I think.
Good job, Mike.
Okay, Scott, give me your offense relationship status.
Well, first off, I have to say, Mikey, you're functioning under the assumption that when you're married, that you are not miserable. There are many people who are married and miserable at the same time. So you can, for those
damn it. Okay.
Anyway,
law variable in my
so
thinking.
I would definitely say, what if your quarterback is married to the game?
Do we have any examples of that in the NFL right now?
Lamar Jackson. He is married to the game, and he's got his mom in his ear, his agent. Essentially, I mean, there are elements of that where that could be detrimental to growth. Also, let's just put it that way.
Okay, but
wait, real quick. The mom in the ear is great for high achievement. Look at Kanye West. Before, when his mom was this number one woman in his life, okay, great. Then he married Kim K. All went downhill.
Okay, you're right. Okay, how about this though? Right. We look at the top 4 quarterbacks in the NFL, like what a lot of people talk about: Lamar, Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, and Joe Burrow. Okay, Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen, stable relationships. Lamar, whatever's going on there, married to the game. Joe Burrow, obviously, recently some drama when his house got broken into. And his relationship, his employee. That was weird, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's so weird, dude.
What the hell was that? I don't know what's going on.
What happened?
Scott, you want to?
We got to talk about this. Okay, so during what was it, last week's Monday Night Football game, Joe Burrow's house was broken into, and during that entire break-in, apparently they only stuck to his bedroom. But at the same time, there was somebody that was in the house that happened to be a supermodel or a big-time influencer or something like that, a very attractive woman. And it all came out. She called 911 while it was happening and so on and so forth. It came out later that like the way she was described was as an employee of Joe Burrow's or whatever his company is. So that was really strange.
Whatever that situation is, that also works for a quarterback. Okay, obviously because Joe Burrow's been balling out. Okay, so we'll take that. Scott, let's finish off your offense here. What do you want? Do you want married or in relationship wide receivers, running backs, skill position guys?
Yeah, look, the way I'm coming from it is like I want married dudes because they have their life together. You're not going to have to worry about off-field stuff unless they're miserable in their marriage. There's probably going to be a potential for that. But ultimately, if they have children, they're going to be fighting for those children in a way that I don't think younger individuals who may be single and flinging on the side, they necessarily don't have that drive because they don't realize that people depend on them outside of maybe their family, an extended family and so on and so forth. But that's not the same sort of dependency that, say, a young child or multiple young children and a wife would depend on that person. So like, give me those guys because they're going to have the hunger that they have to succeed is vastly different. And in my personal take is far deeper. And I think you can delve into that and mine that in a much better and efficient way.
It's more long term, possibly too. So then, like, kind of
Yeah.
that tenacity will last for the entire, not just one season, but multiple seasons. There's also a thing called the married man premium, just kind of taking it away from just football, but married men do make 20 to 40% more money on average than non-married men. Mike, what do you think of that?
Yeah, and I think that's
that is true in the business world. That is true.
Yeah,
Okay.
and I think there's an aggression. There's an
Really
aggression and wisdom that comes with that, and that's why that's a byproduct of it, is because they know when to pick and choose their battles, and they do it at a much more efficient rate than, say, single men who may be less tethered to reality in certain respects.
Did you just call Mikey less tethered to reality? Mikey.
Listen, the more I read, the more biographies I read, the less I want to stick to reality. Look at Da Vinci. Look at Tesla, Edison.
Okay.
They wouldn't hire anybody who went to college because they believed it destroyed their thinking and their ability to use their brain. They wouldn't let anybody who graduated college work in his laboratories. Elon Musk is doing a similar thing. But the point is, reality is for chumps.
Just one thing, yeah. I know we established in the last show that this show is
delusion.
Is pro delusion.
Yeah.
Nikola Tesla did, however, marry a pigeon at the end of his life. So no matter what he accomplished in terms of science and industry, that's a little bit sad.
Look, that's the cost of greatness. Sometimes you're gonna marry a pigeon.
You're gonna marry a pigeon to be great? Will you do it?
What position do you want on your team to marry a pigeon?
All right, so there we go. This is interesting. I'd be curious to hear what people think about this, because actually, all jokes aside, it's a very interesting conversation. I would love to look at like all pro, and we can do this maybe for one of the other shows. I would like to look at kind of all pros and high performers in the NFL and look at, are they married? Are they in a long-term relationship or not? And what positions, and kind of historically.
Kickers should be married.
Yeah. Kickers?
Yeah,
for sure.
Stable. Yeah.
Yes. You need support. You need stability. Kickers should. Oh, okay, good. There you go, Mike. We got Mikey. We'll wrap this up with Mikey at least choosing kickers and quarterbacks to be married. All right. So there we go. If anybody has any opinions on that, let us know.
Oh, yeah.
We might revisit this conversation with some data, because we're just going off punches here, right?
We'll have the intern do a deep dive into the data and the analytics, and make sure that we come back with structured arguments and present them to you, all 300 people.
I really feel like the data is going to support my hypothesis.
Well, we'll see. Mike, you're the intern, so you got to support. You got to pick up the data. All right. Let's get back to a little. That was a fun little sidebar. That's interesting.
I liked it. Now we're friends again, Mikey. We're friends again. We're not on either side.
Honestly, Nick, I liked my position being in the middle, center of attention. I'm going to start more debates like that, so you have to put me back in the middle. Let's go to Monday Night Football, and we already talked a little bit about the Falcons-Raiders game. That was boring as hell. We don't need to talk about that anymore. And it resulted in our boy Kirk getting benched. But the Vikings,
even with the win.
Even with the win, it's like, damn. But in the NFC North, best division of football this year, Vikings smack the Bears. Caleb Williams, he had a bunch of kind of hilarious body language memes that he was putting up there. Like, here, let me throw this up. Scott, will you pop this? The Vikings beat the Bears. Caleb Williams,
still right there, dude.
Caleb Williams had a couple of these where he just like basically looked like he fainted on the bench because he was just so upset and disappointed. And then there's a few others of him. I'll try and find him just laying on on the field, just not getting up, just stone cold. Scott, thoughts on this situation? We touched on Caleb Williams a little bit earlier, but after starting decently or having like a little bit of a decent run a couple games into the season, the Bears have been absolutely abysmal. Obviously, they fired their OC and their head coach, so they got interims right now. But this is not a good situation for Caleb Williams. What are your thoughts on the Bears?
Look, dude, this is mad dramatic. But is it a surprise to any of us seeing the antics that he was bringing in to pre-NFL draft? You know, the painting of the nails, all this kind of stuff. So the drama and the body language here isn't surprising to me, but it's not becoming of an NFL quarterback. And if you look at like all the other rookies, it seems as though they're taking, even if they're small little steps, they're taking the little steps in the right direction. It's like, okay, is there an element of having a bad coaching staff or organization around Caleb? Yes.
Right.
But bro, you need to get it together in the body language. This is not what grown ass men with families, as I was just talking to, they don't want their leader doing this stuff. This looks like a little bit of like a childish reaction to a lot of things. Like, even if it may not be your fault or anything like that, like, be stone cold. Like, that's why I love Joe Burrow, even when he's playing like lights out and insane and they lose, he's just stone cold staring, because it's like, oh man, he's got that psycho killer mentality, like a Brady, an MJ, or somebody along those lines. Like, he's going to put it in. But when you see a dude like do this, like, I have no confidence in my leader if that's him.
This is the body language of a guy who paints his fingernails. Pre-draft should have been the character flag.
Look at this. I'm scrolling down on this timeline here. Just multiple shots of Caleb Williams,
bro,
having fingernail painted body language right there. Dude, the Bears, man, this is apparently Caleb Williams did privately have concerns about going to the Bears pre-draft. And like, rightfully so. This organization has been just abysmal with quarterbacks. I think they're one of the only teams to never have a 4,000-yard passer, like, ever. The last time they had a first team all-pro quarterback was something like 1958 or one of these years. So, like, just not good with the quarterback position. And we know this dude is super talented. Like, that's the thing. He is incredibly talented. And I think in the right system and with the right coaching staff, then this dude could be great. He could have Patrick Mahomes type, I don't want to say like success like he's had with these Super Bowls and everything, but he could have these types of performances. Don't make that face at me, Scott. If you're rebuilding the Bears after this season, right? Yeah. Is there a coach out there that you would go after to take the helm of this organization that is in shambles for a city that has a lot of great sports potential?
Yeah, 100%. Mike Vrabel. They need to get him immediately in the building. I mean, that guy, if you want a football dude along the lines of Dan Campbell, Raheem Morris, why am I blanking on the guy down at the Texans? But like, if you want to get a culture right, you need to bring somebody in like Vrabel. He's sitting at the Browns right now, which is frustrating because I wish we could utilize him in a bigger fashion.
What's his position with the Browns right now?
It's like an offensive analyst or consultant, something pretty vague.
That's so weird when like head coach level status guys in the NFL go and do this, be like analysts or consultants. Like, it's the same with what Robert Saleh is doing at the Packers. It's like, what is going on here?
Yeah, it is strange, but it makes sense. Like, if you want to have a call it a gap year, but still be in the fray a little bit, like it's a good way to remain like relevant, right? Or at least in the circles and shaking hands and talking to people and owners and everything like that. So like, I think the Bears just need to get him in house immediately and before Ohio State snags him up, because Ryan Day, boy, that seat is getting hotter by the day. And the fact that Vrabel's right there, they're going to go for that alumni to try and get him in and get right. So,
dude.
Bears need to make moves, man.
Well, if Ohio State does not win the national championship, I think Ryan Day is going to be gone.
Oh yeah.
If that's his only way to save the job is to win the national championship, probably.
Yeah.
I love the Mike Vrabel pick, dude, because I'm so sick of these organizations that are kind of just in shambles. And it feels like they just make such obviously dumb decisions on who they elevate or who they decide to be their new head coach, some like unproven coordinators. Dude, just because a dude is good at calling plays, why do you think this guy is going to be able to set the tone and culture for an entire organization? I'm much more of a fan of getting these head coaches that are more culture oriented and then having your wizard offense and the defensive coordinator. So I love the Mike Vrabel, and obviously he would bring a lot of that culture to the defensive side of the ball too. Is there anyone else out there? Say Mike Vrabel doesn't want it. Is there anybody else that you think could help the Bears and would be a smart person to go after?
Put me on the spot here. I mean, I've just been thinking about that for so long. I don't know why they passed up on Bill Belichick last year and gave Eberflus
They also passed up on Cliff Kingsbury.
Yeah, Cliff Kingsbury. But I think that's out of the out of the frying pan into the fire with Cliff Kingsbury. Because the question marks still remain around him. Like, he may be more of the analytical OC kind of guy, the quarterback whisperer that you need, maybe calling plays, right? But in terms of like setting a culture, he had a little bit, I would say, a little too new agey approach to things, with him instituting like, oh, you get a 5-minute cell phone break to check your phone, but no phones in the meeting room.
Did he do that?
Yeah, dude.
Are you
Yeah.
kidding me?
I take back.
Oh, that's pathetic.
Yeah.
I take back
That's
any
pathetic.
suggestion. Kingsbury, don't let that man be a head coach then. Keep him
Yeah.
at the fourth.
Yeah. It's one of those things where you think it's a good idea on paper and it sounds really good to like reach across the aisle to the new age younger kids and be relatable. And it's just
like a parent who doesn't say no.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. Like, set some parameters and be like, no, you don't get to check your phone during fall camp. Like,
Well, it's like
don't get
looking at, I was just watching the Hard Knocks, the in-season Hard Knocks yesterday, and like we're getting a glimpse at some really respectable culture coaches, like like John Harbaugh and like Mike Tomlin. Like, I love seeing those two dudes. Zach Taylor, Stefanski, I'm not entirely sure or sold on them, but like, you think Mike Tomlin is going to have a cell phone break for his players? And also, do you think that makes the players respect you less as a head coach,
dude.
Wouldn't it?
Yeah, it's patronizing. Like, it's like, oh, you think I am so incapable of controlling my own emotions and thoughts that I can't keep my phone away and be like a professional and focus in, that you need to give me this little recess? Like, dude, what am I, in 4th grade?
Yeah, gosh. Mike,
snack time.
I agree.
Yeah.
Now, listen, I'd take the 5 minutes and I'd scroll Instagram reels. Sure. Maybe do a couple same-day options.
There you go, Mike.
I would absolutely lose respect for a leader who allowed that kind of stuff in the media.
Yeah. Hey, speaking of like respect for coaches, I wanted to ask you, like, guys, this, because in watching the Hard Knocks episode last night, and also just some things that I've seen from some of these teams, what do you think about players calling their head coach by their first name? Like, for example, Jamar Chase was interviewed in it wasn't in the Hard Knocks episode, I don't think, but it was a previous interview. Interviewers asking him about, hey, what's going on here? Why did this happen with the play calls or with the end of the game there? You guys had a chance. And he goes, I don't know. You got to ask Zach. Don't ask me that. Ask Zach. Just ask Zach that. And to me, that comes across as super disrespectful to not give the head coach, like, instead of calling him Coach Taylor, because nobody's real. I bet you players are not calling Coach Belichick Bill in the building. They're probably calling him Coach Belichick.
No.
What are your guys' thoughts on this, on players calling their coaches by their first names?
Mike, you want to tackle this one first?
Sure. This is the type of thinking and the blurring of lines that led to the fall of the Roman Empire. Okay. This is destroy all the pillars, all the structure. Okay. We're all the same. You got to maintain the hierarchy.
Yeah.
You have to have that leadership. You have to have that respect. And it starts with, like, once you start giving away these little pieces, you give a mouse a cookie and it all starts to crumble.
Mike,
I just read that book yesterday.
Mike,
I'm
about
halfway through. I have the audio.
That collared shirt, Mike, is incredible for your take. That was your best. That was one of your best takes ever.
That was great.
This is leading to the fall of the Roman
with NPR.
Wow.
I love it. No, Mikey's hitting the nail on the head, man. It's like, that's why I think we on this show keep harping at, hey, we need a culture setter. We need somebody that like automatically and immediately demands respect based off of their actions and their approach to the game. And if you're like trying to be too buddy with these grown men, like, you're going to lose respect immediately. It doesn't matter how, the merit you bring to the table, you're ultimately going to start losing the locker room and the guys and the vibe that's there, and what they're hungry for, dude. They're looking up to you to set the tone and move forward along those lines.
It's so insecure as a head coach to have that relationship that, like, just be my friend, be my buddy. Don't be mad at me. Like, they're craving a strong leader. Every young man is craving a strong leader.
Exactly. Who was the head coach of I can't even remember his name. He's so boring. The head coach of the Cardinals. Do you know his name, Scott?
The one
He's
right
like
now?
one of the most what? Right now.
No, right now. Oh, dude. He was the pew pew pew. The Hard Knocks really
the
burned
most
him on that.
forgettable, boring guy in the NFL. But like, there was that extremely awkward interaction when he first got to the building there, trying to be all cool with Kyler Murray and kind of being all bro. And just from that video right there, just the respect just disintegrated for him, just trying to be all buddy with the players. And so you do that. You guys are correct. You need to establish that hierarchy, because previously, like as a player, Mike, even like think about when we were playing in Germany together, Mike, and obviously we had our coaches that we really respect, but then there were certain periods that we had to perform for coaches and do drills for coaches that you didn't really respect. And it's very, very difficult and kind of confusing emotionally.
Yeah.
And play and perform for someone you're like, dude, I don't even respect you. I'm not going to listen to what you're telling me to do, you know?
And I didn't listen. I had a really bad attitude. I talked back and they gave me coaching points. Well, it's weird when, you're off the field and these coaches try to act all like your friends and try to have a peer-to-peer relationship. Sure. Yeah. And then when you get on the field, then they try to abuse the power that they have on the field because it's the only time that they're shielded, because in a regular interaction, they can't hold respect themselves.
It was interesting because in Europe, in the European League, it's a little bit different. It's not as kind of strict of boundaries as it is obviously in college and the NFL. There's certain elements that are, but Mike, I asked Jordan because, you know, many of these players he has really, really great relationships with off the field, like go over to his house for Thanksgiving and stuff like this. But I asked him, you know, we're on a kind of a team city, what do you call it? Exploring the city after a game in Vienna, walking around. And he made it a point to kind of make sure that he kept distance from all of the players. And I asked him that. I was like, hey, are you purposely right now like maintaining your distance and keeping this kind of gap between you and the player so that doesn't feel like, oh, I'm just one of the guys here? He said, absolutely. Like you absolutely have to do that as a coach. No matter how good your relationship is with them, you have to create a separation. It cannot be on an even playing field relationship wise. And I think that there's a lot to that. And some of these NFL coaches don't seem to want to do that, especially the younger ones.
Yeah.
It's also hard when they're making so much more money than you.
True.
Yeah, dude, that's really tough. I mean, the coaching salaries are definitely going up and up, but so are the players, and they're going up at a rapid pace comparatively. But like, dude, it's just really tough. Like, as a former player, I wanted somebody, as Mikey said earlier, I wanted somebody to follow and feel like I could trust in that leadership. And I didn't really care for having a friend in a grown man that is my coach. Like, I don't care about friendship at that point. Like, dude, you're technically my boss. Like, and that's all I'm looking at you as. And it's so funny you bring up like that Europe is a little different. It's like, why are Europeans so afraid of like hierarchical structures nowadays? It seems like they're just like, no, we can't do that again.
I'll tell you why.
We'll tell you why off air. Yeah, that is a very good point. And it's just, Mike, did you feel that in Europe?
Yeah, absolutely. There was people were scared of hierarchy and like pretty much the dominance hierarchy of earned meritocracy of earned positions. It was too much of like, make sure everybody feels equal and make sure, you know, and like, that's what I love about America is the clear hierarchies and everything. And because one, it demands respect, it demands excellence, and it gives you something to shoot for.
True.
Yeah.
Europe hates a good meritocracy. Everyone on an even playing field. That's Europe right there. I got to hear that.
Man.
Okay, so there we go. We can talk about this all day. I do want to touch on a kind of a weird, random sport here. NCAA college soccer. Mike, I know you're a big fan.
Oh, nice.
Oh.
All right. So NCAA college soccer, pivoting here for a moment. They just had their postseason tournament playoffs. And I want to look at the teams that are in here and the two teams that ended up being in the finals. Okay, here's what we got. Here's the bracket. I think it's a 68 team. I don't even know what it is. No, 64 team. I can't count. Scott, give me your Yale quantitative analysis here.
I'm just going to picture on the ground.
There we go, Rayman. Look at the teams here that are in. Look at the teams that are in this bracket. Okay, Green Bay, Western Michigan, Lipscomb, Mercer. Okay, some of these are big universities we recognize: SMU, Oregon State, but Hofstra, Scott, Yale, SIUE. I don't even know who that is. A few others, Rider. Okay, now some of these are just Georgetown's in there. Okay, there we go. But the national championship game ended up being between Vermont and Marshall. What are you guys not kind of appalled that this is still a major sport in collegiate athletics? Are you guys not appalled that the two teams in the championship came from kind of these tiny, not big brand schools? Where's the Ohio State? Where's the Michigan? Where's the Texas? Don't you think that these schools are going to have a lot easier time recruiting big ballers even on the soccer field? How do you feel about this?
I'm going to be a contrarian here. I'm all for the smaller schools taking over like sports like this. And this is coming from anecdotally, like with my dad in his profession being an athletic director at multiple different universities, like the smaller universities, like University of Portland or Marquette or something along those lines, like because they don't have football programs, their names aren't necessarily at the top of the list. And because they aren't blue blood programs in basketball, their names aren't necessarily at the top of the list. Marquette, aside, that has a little bit more history there. Yep. But they had to find ways to be competitive across the board in a multitude of different sports. And like there were universities that you would never expect to be really good. And this kind of goes with we were talking about hockey last episode, like hockey, if you want to talk about like strange, obscure schools that are really good at that sport, bro, we need to look into that bracket when it comes out because it's wild. You're going to see some small names, but I'm all for this, man. Like, especially when football NIL is going the way that it is, like give the little man his due in these sports.
No, dude, I mean, I'm for it. I think it's awesome. I just don't understand how it's happening. Like, how did these tiny schools with presumably much less resources, how is Marshall and Vermont playing in the Division I national championship for a major sport?
Well, I would say like Vermont, I believe, is D1AA in football, but like they're able to channel their resources more efficiently toward those sports in situations like that. Whereas like Ohio State is, forking up millions upon millions toward football specifically. Granted, like the revenue that football generates is funding all of the others.
That's a good point.
But yeah, they're able to like focus solely on those smaller sports, at least in our eyes.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Okay, that they really just then, because they're not, big football schools or something like this, they're able to channel what they do have, channel those resources and energy. Makes sense. All right, Mike, who do you think won in the championship? Marshall versus
Let me look at this. Let me get my microscope and look at this chart. It's over? Somebody won this? Didn't hear one peep about this whole thing. When was this happening? When's soccer season?
Fall. It's the same as football. Pick your champion, Mike.
Get a little closer, Mike.
Fisheye lens.
Red means it's going. I think Marshall won.
Well, okay, that's good. They were in the championship. I'm gonna play the final game here. Hold on.
Well, that would have been weird had he guessed Marshall won and they weren't.
They went into overtime, sudden death overtime, which is actually kind of sick. That's actually really sick for the championship game. Here we go. We're going to get copyrighted, but I'm going to play it anyway. Ready?
Center back will blast it long and ask Kissel. Getting a foot race with Bamford. Kissel may win, and he does! Can he win the national championship? 1v1 against Yannick! Oh my gosh, they do it! Don't call him Cinderella!
Oh my
gosh!
Dude.
Mikey?
Okay, that's cool.
Mikey,
I got
chills. We got
that's
chills?
Really cool.
That's
See,
pretty sick,
moments like that are what keeps soccer alive. The problem is moments like that in soccer happen 2 or 3 times a season. The amount of investment you have to put in as a viewer to get the payoff of exciting moments in soccer, it's a horrible ratio.
Tough ROI for the
You're never going to be allowed back in Europe.
Football's the best ROI for the fan in terms of viewership.
Hey, Mikey's never going to be allowed back in Europe.
Luck.
Hating on the meritocracy and the soccer shit talking.
I'm proud of being American. So what?
I don't know if you're going to be able to come to my wedding, Mike.
On a no-fly list.
What is Scott? Does that gas you up right there?
Dude, that right there gassed me up specifically for the play on the field. I mean, I think the color commentator probably needs to work on his delivery there. He kind of lost it toward the end, lost his voice. Nick, you're going to need to help coach him up there. Maybe you should start consulting business on the side.
Now commentating LLC. I was going to say because I started doing commentary this year for football games in the European League of Football, which is really, really fun. I love it. But then I've really started to pay attention to broadcasters and commentators on all sorts of sports, obviously on football, but like here as well. And to me, that's just like, it's pretty cringy. Like, it just was not good. It's like, bro, this is the national championship. And I'm sure this guy is a decent commentator, but like a big moment like that, I don't know. It did not elevate the moment. It was not that you believe in miracles in the Olympic hockey. Like, you can have a commentator or a broadcast moment that really elevates a sports moment. And that's, I think, we're kind of working against it. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, that one you got to dig deep, and I give him the benefit of the doubt because, boy, my voice cracks even at 30 plus years old. So it's a tough go, tough look, but
it's a growing boy.
Yeah.
What do you guys think about the soccer celebration? They always rip their shirts off. What is this?
It's hot.
It's hot. That's what it is.
We should do that in football.
Too many
pads. Take too long.
Oh, that's a great question. What's your guys' take on the jersey swaps in football these days? Like, this is probably more your era of player, Mikey. Like, do you have a take on this?
I think it's cool.
You like it?
Yeah. If you play against usually it's guys who are like typically like the same level and they respect each other and they'll swap their jerseys.
Yeah. The problem is when like a guy who's like barely on the roster, really shitty, he played 7 special team snaps, asked to do a jersey swap with Christian or Mahomes.
It'd be easy on those guys.
What?
Easy.
Easy.
That would have been like me asking to jersey swap with you.
Yeah, I think it's cool.
Well, Scott, we would do a jersey swap because we have a connection and we grew up together. Those are cool. However,
you would have been doing me a favor.
The problem with jersey swaps sometimes is that it creates too much of a friendly atmosphere between opponents. This is a big problem in the NBA. All these dudes are really buddy. They're going on each other's podcasts. And I know there's a little bit of an element to that in the NFL, but a lot of those connections in the NFL are more, hey, we played college football together or we grew up together. Not, I'm just going to be friends with everybody and buddy with everybody that I'm playing around the league. Don't you think?
Yeah, but to my point last week about if you do it over and over again, it's going to, like the self-correcting mechanism and the aggression of football, like it could end up lessening to a degree in which it turns into NBA sort of camaraderie against opponents. And I'm just like totally against it. I think it's weird, one, to have another dude's jersey in general. And like, that's why I hate when grown men wear jerseys on themselves and have some other grown man's name on their back.
Yeah. Grown man fanaticism. Okay. Just being an adult guy wearing some guy's jersey as a fan in the stadium. That's weird. Or out in public as part of your wardrobe, just jerseys, other people's jerseys. But have jersey swap after a game that you played against somebody, I think that's cool. And you get to collect jerseys of guys you respect and then put them in your basement or something. I don't know. I think it's cool.
Put them in your basement.
Memorabilia.
Put them in your man cave basement.
I'm never going to watch this.
Hey, have you heard Chris D'Elia's bit on grown men wearing other grown men's names on their back? Have you heard
why
that?
don't you recite it?
No, I haven't.
I'm not going to recite it. I'll tell it off air. It's definitely rated R, but it's funny and it has a great
such
point.
a good bit.
So I'm going to need to look it up after. Yeah,
Scott, look that up. Chris D'Elia, grown men jersey wearing. Put that in on YouTube.
Yeah.
All right. So we are we look at that, dude. What we touched on soccer. College soccer. This is an eclectic sports show. It's not just football.
Oh, eclectic.
That's a good vocab word, isn't it?
Very.
I didn't go to Yale, but I know words. All right. Anything else you guys want to talk about? We got 5 minutes left.
Oh, really quickly. I see a note here, but like piggybacking off of the jersey swap, what are your guys' thoughts on celebrities being on sidelines and being like the pseudo mascots of teams?
Yeah, dude. I put that in there because look, I'm going to throw up this tweet. This is a hilarious tweet. Because we know how McConaughey speaks. McConaughey he's awesome, but look, he does speak in like riddles and parables. I'm gonna throw this up here. This is a funny tweet. Will you share that, Scott?
Yeah.
So for the people just listening, it says, "You think Matthew McConaughey says weird shit like the ball's been in play before we were born, and the snap is just a realization to the Longhorns players on the sideline?" What do you, Scott? You asked us what we think about celebrities being kind of the pseudo mascots thing. I think in certain situations it can be very cringe. I'm thinking specifically of like Drake. When that one picture of Drake sitting with Kentucky basketball where he's like wearing the uniform and it's like
he's in the film room.
He's in the film room like pretending to be on the team. That's cringy. The McConaughey thing specifically, I like it because it feels authentic. He's a Texas guy, and he does feel connected and authentically connected to the university and the football team. So that I like it. But if it's forced and inauthentic, I hate it.
Yeah.
Mikey,
I agree. I like it. When Will Ferrell leads the USC Trojans out of the tunnel, there is nothing funnier. What is he saying to the team? Is he motivating a team in the locker room? Who's going to take the game seriously when Will Ferrell's in the locker room?
Wow.
But I love it. I think it's so cool. You're gonna have your own little celebrity mascot to be on the sideline with you.
Damn. That's actually hilarious. Think about you're in the locker room, you're USC, and you're about to play like Penn State or Notre Dame, super intense, like biggest game of the year, and Will Ferrell's in there gonna give you a couple words of pregame speech.
Yeah. Also in The Last Dance with the Bulls, and Jerry Seinfeld's in the locker room, and there's like some plays written on the chalkboard, and he just is in the locker room so awkward. He points it out to the team. He goes, "This isn't gonna work, by the way." That's funny. Having comedians around, I think it's good. Lighten the mood before the game.
That's true. That's actually funny. Scott, what are your thoughts on this?
Dude, I think there are sometimes it could be definitely cringy. But like I don't mind, say, McConaughey here because he, as far as I can remember, he's been a part of like Texas fandom and On the Sidelines, even when they were going through like the throes of their like terrible years during the 2010s and everything like that. So like him, I would give a pass. It's totally cool that he's there when they're churning on all cylinders, right? But then like, I don't know, I get a little like, it's kind of weird when you got like Snoop Dogg on the USC sidelines alongside Will Ferrell back in the early 2000s, but then they're no longer there. And then if they ever do rise to prominence again, they may come back. But it's just like I would lean toward what Mikey's saying is like comedians, dude. Yeah, let them come in. That's the best way to go about this. Actors, it's a little weird.
Yeah, I mean, it depends. Like the Will Ferrell, he was a USC student. He was in a fraternity there. It makes sense. But also, like the Colorado situation, when Colorado started getting all of this buzz, and then all of a sudden, just new celebrities at Colorado practice and Colorado sideline every week, like that's cringy. It's just everyone jumping on the bandwagon, and they see an opportunity for their brand to be associated with the hot new football team. Yeah. That I hate.
Yeah. So like if I had Paul Giamatti on my sidelines during the Yale days, like that would be cool because it would be like, oh, somebody actually cares about Yale football and is famous. That's kind of cool.
Paul Giamatti is one of my top 5 favorite actors. His best role ever, Marty Wolf in Big Fat Liar. One of the greatest characters ever to touch the screen. Have you seen that movie?
Oh yeah. Incredible. Are you kidding me? I've seen it so many times in my childhood. I can't wait to show my daughter.
Wolf out.
Yeah. that character is Nick's whole life inspiration.
Movie producer, director kind of guy, hilarious, mansion.
I got to imagine that was the inspiration for Tom Cruise's character in Tropic Thunder. I got to imagine that was like at its foundation something he could take a step off of.
We just watched that again this weekend, and that movie holds up so well, so hilarious. The Tom Cruise, Les Grossman producer character with the fat hands, unbelievable movie. So they got away with some stuff in that movie. That was like 2008, 2009. They got away with some stuff in that probably wouldn't fly today.
It flies if it's funny enough.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. If it's funny enough, definitely. And we're in a new day, Nick. Who knows?
We're in a new day. All right. There we go. We're in a new day, and we just hit 1 hour on the clock. That's our show, guys. That was good. That was fun. I like when we talked about all the relationship status of football players. We got to do some more research on that and get some statistics.
Yeah, we should also just do a shout out. Any ladies watching this show, go ahead and send in your profile. Maybe we'll hook you up with Mikey for a blind date.
Love is Blind, No Warmup edition.
Wow. Pitch this to Netflix. Mikey Alfieri, Love is Blind. I do like the situation where you put me in the middle, Scott, more. So I'm going to try and create more of these sort of debates where you put me in the middle because I like when I'm in the middle.
I could also just do that without creating a debate. It just feels good.
Give me that sometimes. It strokes my ego. It makes me feel good. Okay, there we go. All right, Scott, have fun with the fam. Mikey, I will see you in a couple minutes in the fireplace room. Yeah,
no fights.
Let's hang out. All right, everybody. Thank you for watching the No Warmup podcast. Wolf out.